Hey everyone, welcome back. Have you ever wished you had like another set of hands to take care of all those little tasks that just eat up your time?
Oh, yeah,
Like
definitely.
those repetitive things you got to do over and over again.
All the time.
Well, that's where shell developers come in.
That's right.
In this super quick deep dive, we want to give you the inside scoop on how to find and hire a shell developer superstar.
Absolutely.
And we're going to do it with the help of theperfectdeveloper.com. The best resource out there for finding the right developers for any project.
They're fantastic.
And hey, while we're at it, why not jump over to theperfectdeveloper.com and try out their 5 questions tool right now?
It's really cool.
It'll help you get a head start on finding your perfect shell developer match while we uh, dig a little deeper here.
Sounds good.
So let's get started. What exactly do shell developers do? They seem kind of mysterious.
They kind of are. They're like the behind-the-scenes wizards of the tech world.
Okay, I like that.
They write these scripts that automate all those essential system-level tasks that keep things running smoothly.
So they're all about efficiency.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Think about things like managing servers, deploying software updates, or even crunching huge amounts of data, all happening silently in the background.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So how are they different from the developers who build the apps we use every day?
That's a great question. It's a key difference. Application developers are focused on creating the interfaces and features you interact with directly.
The stuff we see and touch on our phones and computers.
Exactly. But shell developers work more on the operating system level. They're masters of languages like Bash and Zesh, and they live and breathe Linux environments.
Ah, so they're the ones who make sure everything works behind the scenes.
Exactly. Imagine you need to deploy your software to like hundreds of servers at the same time. A shell developer could automate that whole process, saving you weeks and weeks of manual work.
That's a serious time saver. So it sounds like shell developers need a very specific set of skills. It's not just about knowing the languages right.
You got it. Of course, being fluent in Bash or Zesh is essential, but a truly great shell developer also needs a deep understanding of operating systems, especially Linux.
Makes sense.
They're natural-born problem solvers able to write clean and efficient scripts that can handle any unexpected hiccups that come up.
They're like the emergency responders of the code world.
Pretty much. But it's not just about technical skills either. They also need to be excellent communicators.
Oh, why is that?
Well, think about it. They often act as a bridge between the tech teams and the non-technical folks, explaining complex processes in a way that everyone can understand.
Ah, so they're like tech translators.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. Now let's talk about the big question that's probably on everyone's mind. Cost. How much should you expect to pay for a shell developer?
Well, that's a bit tricky. It really depends on a bunch of factors, like their experience, where they're located, and whether you're looking for a full-time employee, a freelancer, or maybe even outsourcing overseas.
So many options.
I know, right? But don't worry, theperfectdeveloper.com has got you covered. They provide amazing salary insights based on all those factors so you can get a realistic idea of what to expect.
That's super helpful.
For example, you might find really talented shell developers in Asia for less money. But managing a remote team across different time zones and cultures can be a challenge.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Sometimes trying to save money up front can lead to headaches down the road.
That's a good point. So where's the best place to start your search for this kind of talent?
Well, you've got a few options. You could try the usual suspects like job boards like LinkedIn and Indeed, or you could look at more specialized platforms like Stack Overflow.
I've heard of those.
And don't forget about the power of freelance platforms. There are tons of great shell developers out there.
True. And of course, referrals from your network can be really valuable.
Absolutely. Word of mouth is powerful,
Yeah,
but I know it can feel overwhelming trying to sort through all these options.
it's a lot to take in.
That's where the perfectdeveloper.com really shines. They streamline the whole process with their incredible AI-powered matching technology.
Wow, AI for developers.
Yep. They connect you with pre-vetted candidates who are a perfect fit for your specific needs.
That's amazing.
Their screening process is super thorough. They go way beyond just looking at resumes. They examine portfolios and assess both technical and soft skills to make sure they find the absolute best match for you.
So they do all the heavy lifting for you.
Pretty much. It's a huge time saver.
Hmm.
But let's say you've got your short list of candidates.
Huh?
How do you really dig into their expertise beyond what's on their resume?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, portfolio reviews are absolutely crucial. You want to see real-world examples of their scripting work, understand how they approach problems, and check the quality and readability of their code.
It's like taking a peek under the hood, right?
Exactly. You want to make sure everything is running smoothly and built to last.
Yeah.
So you've got this list of potential shell developers, like real superstars,
All right.
but how do you know they've really got what it takes? That's where you have to get down to the details.
Okay, so it's like, okay, so it's more than just like a quick glance at their resume.
Way more. One of the best ways to really see what they can do is by looking at their portfolio.
Their portfolio, like what kind of stuff should we be looking for?
You want to see what kind of projects they've actually worked on, real world stuff.
Right.
What problems did they solve? How did they approach those problems? Their portfolio should show you not just what they can do, but how they think.
Ah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what are some like red flags we should watch out for when we're looking at a shell developer's portfolio?
Well, one thing is to look at how complex the projects are that they've tackled. Have they done more than just simple scripts? Have they automated like entire workflows? That shows they can handle real challenges.
So like bigger picture stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And pay attention to the quality of their code, too. Is it well organized? Is it easy to read? Are there comments?
So it's not just about the code working, it's about how it's written.
Exactly. That shows that they care about making their code maintainable and easy for others to work with.
Because who wants to deal with a big mess of code that nobody understands?
Nobody. And even if a portfolio looks really impressive, you still want to make sure they actually did the work they say they did.
Oh, good point.
Did they do the whole project or just a little piece of it?
Right.
You can check places like GitHub or their contributions to open source projects to get a better idea.
That's a great tip. So the portfolio gives you a good starting point, but what's the next step in the evaluation process?
The technical interview, this is where you really put their skills to the test.
Okay, but not like boring textbook questions, right?
No, 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 no. Get creative. Give them a real-world scenario that's relevant to your project.
So like our server keeps crashing every Tuesday at 3 p.m. What do you do? Kind of thing.
Exactly. See how they think on their feet. Do they ask the right questions? Do they have a system for finding and fixing problems? Can they explain what they're doing in a clear way?
So it's not just about getting the right answer. It's about how they approach the problem.
You got it. And don't forget to pay attention to how they communicate during the interview. Can they explain complicated technical stuff in a way that everyone can understand?
Right.
Because remember, shell developers often have to act as translators between the tech folks and the non-tech folks.
Right, like we were talking about earlier.
Exactly.
So it sounds like finding the right shell developer is all about finding that sweet spot between technical skills, problem-solving abilities, and those all-important soft skills.
Absolutely. And I know it can seem like a lot to think about, but trust me, it's worth it to take the time and do it right.
Yeah, I mean, you're not just hiring someone to write code. You're bringing in someone who can really make a difference in how your team works.
Exactly. They can streamline your workflows, automate all those boring tasks, and ultimately help your project succeed.
And if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by all of this, remember, there's a shortcut.
Yes. Head over to theperfectdeveloper.com and try out their 5 questions tool.
It's like having a personal matchmaker for developers.
They take all the guesswork out of finding the right shell developer for your needs, which saves you so much time and stress.
That's awesome.
But even when you found the perfect shell developer, there's one super important step that a lot of people forget about: onboarding. We'll talk about that in our last segment, so stick around.
All right, so let's say we found our shell developer, like we've gone through the whole process, portfolios, interviews, all that.
Yep.
They aced everything.
Yeah.
They're amazing,
Yeah.
and we're ready to bring them on board.
That's great. But hold on, before you just throw them into the code base, there's one really important thing you got to do: onboarding.
Onboarding. So more than just like giving them a laptop and showing them where the coffee machine is.
Way more. Onboarding is all about making them feel like part of the team.
Yeah.
Integrating them into your company culture, your processes, how you do things.
Okay.
It's about setting them up for success right from the start.
Uh-huh.
Think of it like laying a strong foundation for a really great working relationship.
Gotcha. So how do we make sure that onboarding experience is like welcoming but also effective?
First things first, make sure they have everything they need before they even start their computer accounts software all set up.
Right. Because there's nothing worse than starting a new job and just like sitting around waiting for stuff.
Exactly. And then introduce them to everyone, not just their immediate team, but people from other departments too.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
That way they get a better sense of how the whole company works and how their role fits into the bigger picture.
And it helps them feel like they're actually part of the team.
Exactly. And then give them clear documentation about your coding standards, your workflow processes, how you communicate.
Right, so everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, that'll prevent a lot of confusion down the road. And don't forget about finding them a mentor or a buddy, someone who can answer their questions and help them get settled in.
Like a friendly face in a new place.
Exactly. It makes a huge difference. When you have a good onboarding process, it not only makes your new shell developer feel valued and supported, but it also helps them become productive much faster.
That's awesome. So let's do a quick recap of everything we've talked about in this deep dive about hiring shell developers.
Okay, so we started with understanding what they actually do right. Automating tasks, making things more efficient, working their magic behind the scenes.
Right, the wizards of the operating system.
And then we talked about the key skills they need. Knowing their shell languages like Bash and Zeesh, understanding Linux inside and out, and of course those all-important soft skills.
Yep. And we talked about salary ranges, where to find these amazing developers, and how important it is to really dig into their portfolio and give them a good technical interview.
And we can't forget about onboarding, setting them up for success from day one.
But before we wrap things up, we want to give you one final call to action.
Yes. Go to theperfectdeveloper.com and check out their 5 questions tool. It's the easiest way to find your perfect shell developer match.
They'll do all the hard work for you. It's a game changer.
Absolutely.
So go out there, find your scripting superstar, and get ready to take your projects to the next level. Thanks for joining us on this mini deep dive. We'll see you next time.